Hello everybody, this is another Hot Wheels collector video, and today I've got another reaction and showcase video for you guys. This is the 2024 Hot Wheels L case, another fantastic 2024 case from the Hot Wheels team. I am really impressed with this case and I can't wait to show you guys what is in this case. I'm sure you'll be very impressed too. There's plenty of new castings here and overall the selection of cars is very good. But before we go any further, I must shout out Ministry of Diecast, as well as Marsley Marzuki for the following footage. Without these two guys, this would not be possible at all, so make sure to check out the original videos, as well as the original channels, and make sure to subscribe to their channels as well. But anyways, that's really enough of this intro, so let's jump straight into this showcase and reaction video then. Firstly, let's take a look at everything new for this case. So the first new car for this case is the Limited Grip. This is a fantasy casting, but I think this fantasy casting is fantastic looking, and I know a lot of other collectors feel the same way. Super cool casting. This thing does receive side and top tampo work. It has been painted in this very nice matte finished dark green colour, really good colour on this thing, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels which have been painted in yellow. What a great release of this casting. Next up we have the first new casting for this case, and it is licensed. This is the 22 Ford Maverick Custom, and what a fantastic casting this thing is. It does receive side and front tampo work, it has been painted in this very nice metallic blue colour, and this thing is rolling on the L4 wheels which have been painted in grey. What a cool modified pickup. It kind of reminds me of the Ford F-150 Lightning, which we got as a new casting for 2023. Overall, a really nice new casting. And next up we have the Formula E Gen 3, another brand new casting which is licensed. This thing does receive side and top tampo work, it has been painted in glossy black, and this thing is rolling on the 10-spoke wheels which have been done in complete black. What a great casting here as well. Next up we have another brand new licensed casting for this case. This is the Pagani Utopia. Really nice casting here. This thing does receive top and side tampo work. It has been painted in this really nice glossy cream kind of colour. Really cool colour on this thing. Very unique colour indeed. And this thing is rolling on the 10-spoke wheels which have been painted in chrome. Another fantastic new casting which is licensed. Can't wait to add this one to my collection as well. What a great case so far. I'm loving it. Next up we have the treasure hunt for this case. This is the car Diasada. This thing doesn't really appeal to me because it is a fantasy car aimed at a younger demographic, but it will be quite hard to find on the pegs because it is a treasure hunt. And yeah, it will be quite rare as I've said. This thing does receive top tampo work. It has been painted in what appears to be just a standard glossy red colour, and pretty much the rest of this body has been created by blue plastic. The majority of the body has actually. It's mostly created by plastic. There's not an awful lot of metal on this thing, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle style wheels which have been painted in chrome blue, and these wheels have been moulded in white plastic. Overall, it's not really one for me, and I will be leaving this on the pegs for somebody who likes it a little bit more than myself. Next up we have another brand new licensed casting for this case. Wow, so many licensed castings here which are new. Keep them coming because this is so great so far. This is the 67 Lotus Type 49, and this thing has been painted in a glossy British racing green type of colour. This thing does receive side and top tampo work, and this thing is rolling on the L4 style wheels which have been painted in chrome. And this thing has been created by metal. The whole thing appears to be metal, which is absolutely wild for a mainline. Very rare to see that. I'm not complaining though. What a great casting this thing is. Next up we have a great recolour of the 94 Audi Avant RS2. I love this recolour. It has been painted in a metallic blue colour which I think pops. What a beautiful colour on this thing. Wow, so impressed. It does receive front and rear tampo work, and it pretty much looks like a premium. So many details there. Really, we didn't need any more tampo work in my opinion. Looks really good the way it is. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels which have been painted in chrome. As you can already tell, I love this thing. It's definitely going to be making its way into my collection. Next up, we have another really nice recolor here. This is the 92 BMW M3, a new casting for me. I don't have this casting in my collection yet, so I can't wait to add this to my collection. And it's a great recolor at that as well, so yeah, I'm really happy I am able to get this thing and add it to my collection. This thing does receive side and top tampo work, which is pretty much all we need here. This thing is rolling on the Phil Riemann wheels, which have been done in grey, and this thing has been painted in what appears to be a slightly metallic yellow colour. It's quite hard to tell, but it does appear to be slightly metallic. Great colour nonetheless, and I'm really impressed with this recolor. Next up, we have the Mazda RX-7 in a police livery. This thing does receive side and top tampo work. It has been painted in glossy black, and this thing is rolling on the retro style 5-slot wheels, which have been painted in chrome bronze. Pretty good recolor of this casting, if I'm honest. I probably will add this to my collection. I don't think it looks too bad at all. Pretty decent recolor indeed. And next up, we have the Boom Car. This is a fantasy casting which I am not interested in at all. This thing does receive top tampo work. It has been painted in a glossy red colour, as you can see there. The rest is created by plastic, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been moulded in white plastic and have been painted in black. This one's not really for me at all. Next up, we have the 70 Dodge Charger RT. This one's not really for me, if I'm honest. This thing does receive side and top tampo work. It does appear to have been painted in a slightly metallic pink colour, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels. In the rear, they have been moulded out of this blue coloured plastic, and in the front, they have been moulded out of this yellow coloured plastic, and both of those wheels, or all 4 of the wheels I should say, do have a white lip to them. Next up, we have the Ducati Desert X. I don't collect motorbikes, but I will say this thing looks really cool. I like the look of this thing a lot. It does receive side and front tampo work and appears to have been painted in this glossy white colour. And this thing is rolling on the off-road motorcycle wheels, which have been moulded in this dark brown plastic, and then they have been painted in black. As I've said, I like this thing a lot, but I don't collect motorbikes. Next up, we have the Flippin' Fast. This is a fantasy car which doesn't really appeal to me, but it does have a cool feature. It can flip over and roll on either side. This thing does receive top and bottom tampo work. That's the first time I've said that. This thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been done in black with a yellow lip to them. And this thing has been painted in a glossy dark green colour, and the bottom has been created by yellow plastic. Not one really for me, if I'm honest. Next up, we have the Pterodactyl. I quite like the colour scheme on this thing. I think it looks pretty cool. This thing does receive side tampo work. Its body has been created by this blue coloured plastic, and this thing is rolling on the Phil Riemann wheels, which have been painted in white. It is a fantasy casting, so I won't be collecting this thing, but I will say it looks pretty good. Next up, we have the Chevy Silverado. I really like this thing. This thing does receive side tampo work and rear tampo work. This thing has been painted in a slightly metallic blue colour, I believe. I believe it's slightly metallic, not really metallic, but slightly. And this thing is rolling on the Phil Riemann wheels, which have been painted in chrome. Can't wait to add this thing to my collection. Next up, we have the Mustang Funny Car. This one's not really for me. I'm not a big fan of the colour scheme here. It does receive side and top tampo work. It has been painted in this yellow colour, which appears to be slightly metallic. I'm pretty sure it's the same yellow used on the previous M3 we've just seen. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been painted in black and moulded out of this purplish pink coloured plastic. As I've said, it's not really for me. Next up, we have the Volkswagen ID Buzz. I really quite like this casting, if I'm totally honest, and this is a really good recolor. It does receive front and rear tampo work. It has been painted in this 2-tone colour scheme. So the bottom is a slightly metallic orange colour, and the top is a white colour. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke Y design wheels, which have been painted in chrome. What a great recolor of this casting. I'll definitely be looking for this thing. Next up, we have the 77 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. This is the regular version of the Super Treasure Hunt for this case. And wow, does it look absolutely stunning. I love this thing. It does receive side and top tampo work here. It has been painted in a matte black colour, which I think pops on this car, makes it look so aggressive in my opinion. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome red lip to them. I love this recolour of this casting, can't wait to add this to my collection. It looks so good, even the regular version, but the Super Treasure Hunt is so good as well. Wow, great car. Next up we have the 20 Toyota Tacoma, and this thing has loads of tempo work on it. To be honest, this could be a premium. It does receive side, rear and front tempo work. Wow, that's a lot of tempo work for a mainline. This thing has been painted in what appears to be just a standard glossy, almost baby blue colour, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke off-road style wheels, which have been painted in black and moulded out of this dark brown plastic. Overall, I love this thing. I'll definitely be adding it to my collection. Next up we have the 5 Alarm. This one's not really for me. It does receive side tempo work. Its body has been created primarily by this blue coloured plastic. We also do have some chrome coloured plastic in there as well, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome orange lip to them. This one's not really for me. I will be passing this thing up. Next up we have the 15 Jaguar F-Type Project 7. I love this recolour of this casting. I think it looks so good. This thing does receive side and top tempo work. It has been painted in what appears to be just a standard glossy red colour, which is quite dark in colour. Looks really good on this car in my opinion. And this thing is rolling on the lace style wheels, which have been painted in chrome. I'll definitely be hunting this thing down. Next up we have the Diora 2. This is a real fan favourite casting. I know loads of collectors who love this casting, and I do too. This thing does receive side and front tempo work. It has been painted in what appears to be just a standard glossy white. It could be slightly metallic, I can't quite tell from this footage, but yeah, it looks good nonetheless. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle wheels, which have been painted in chrome. What a great recolour of this casting. Next up we have the Trouble Decker, and this is the final new car for this case, and this is a pretty good recolour of this casting. I've always been a fan of this casting, and this recolour is pretty good too. It does receive side tempo work. It is rolling on these steely wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome orange lip to them, and this thing has been created by 2 different coloured plastics. On the top we've got red plastic, and on the bottom floor of this double decker bus we've got blue plastic, and this thing does have a metal base to it. Pretty good recolour of this casting in my opinion. Next, let's take a look at everything returning from the previous case to this case. This gives you a second chance to find all of the following cars. The first returning car to this case is the Tankinator, and I think this is a pretty good recolour of this casting. Next up we have the Bugatti Boulide. If I'm honest, I do prefer the original blue and black version from 2023. When this was a new casting, but this release is not bad at all. Next up we've got the Batman, the animated series car, and if I'm honest, I'm not really interested in this thing at all. Next up we have the Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR Liberty Walk, and this is just a really good car. The casting is fantastic, and this specific recolour is so good as well. Next up we've got the Drag Tour. This is a pretty good recolour of this casting, really unique casting. I quite like the design here. Next up we've got the Rink Racer. This one's not really for me if I'm honest. Next up we've got the 90 Acura NSX. I really like the clean look of this car, really clean release of this casting. I'm definitely going to be looking for this thing. Next up we've got the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento, a really solid recolour of this casting in my opinion. Next up we've got the Bumblebee. This is a really cool casting. I like the yellow colour here, and overall it doesn't look bad at all. I'll definitely be adding this to my collection. Next up we've got the Tracked Wagon. Really cool casting here, even though it is a fantasy and I don't usually collect fantasies. I will admit this thing looks really good. Next up we've got the 24/7, and wow, this casting is so good. This might be my favourite fantasy casting of all time. I just love this thing. Wow, wow, wow. Next up we've got the tuned Porsche 911 Turbo 3.6 litre 964. If I'm honest, I do prefer the original black version from last year when this was a new casting, but this one's not too bad. Next up we've got the 96 Porsche Carrera, a pretty solid recolour of this car in my opinion. Next, we've got the 2020 Koenigsegg Jesko, and wow, this thing looks so good. I love this purple colour on it. Next up, we've got the Land Rover Series 2. This recolour isn't too bad, but I do prefer the original matte green release from when this thing was a new casting in 2023's Q case. Next up, we've got the Lane Lowrider. This one's not really for me, if I'm honest. I'm not a big fan of the colour of this thing. Next up, we've got the Kowloon D Hypervan. I really like this casting. Tons of tampo work detail here, and overall, I think it's so cool. Next up, we've got the Pontiac Aztec Custom, a really solid recolour of this casting. If you are a returning viewer from this channel, you will know I love this casting a lot. Next up, we have the Surf Duty, a really solid recolour of this casting. I don't think it looks bad at all. Next up, we have the 92 Ford Mustang, really solid recolour of this casting. This is a new casting for my collection, can't wait to add it to my collection. Next up, we've got the Rally Speciale, pretty good recolour of a pretty cool casting. Next up, we've got the Mazda 787B. What a fantastic recolour of this casting. I love this recolour. Wow, I'm so impressed, Hot Wheels team. Next up, we've got the Chrysler Pacifica. Pretty good recolour of this casting. I think this casting gets overlooked a lot. But yeah, I will say I like this recolour and I like this casting. Next up, we've got the 73 Jeep J10. I think this is my favourite recolour of this casting to come out so far. What a great recolour of this thing. Next up, we've got the Shelby Cobra 427 SC. Pretty good recolour of this casting. I'm quite a big fan of the raw Zamac finish. Looks really unique. Next up, we've got the Groomobile. This one's not really for me. It won't be coming into my collection. And the final returning car for this case is the 84 Mustang SVO. This is a pretty good recolour of this casting in my opinion. Plenty of tampo work detailing here. But there you go, that is it for the 2024 L case. What a fantastic mix of cars. There's loads of new castings here which are licensed. I'm really impressed with that from the Hot Wheels team. And overall, all the new recolours are really good as well. And everything returning from the previous K case is also really good. Overall, this is pretty much the definition of a perfect Hot Wheels case in my opinion. Tons of great models here which I can't wait to add to my collection. But that does really lead me onto my rankings, so what is my third, second and first place car from this case. So in third place for me is going to be the 22 Ford Maverick Custom. I think it's a really good new casting and overall can't wait to find this thing in the wild. I think it's been executed so well by the Hot Wheels team and I think this casting will sit very nicely with the Ford F-150 Lightning Custom casting which we got as a new casting last year in a very similar blue colour. Can't wait to put them things together and have a look at how good they look together. Wow, really impressed. And in second place for me is going to be the Audi RS2 Advance. Overall, this is just a really good recolour of this thing. Plenty of tampo work on this thing and the colour choice here, that metallic blue colour really pops in my opinion. I'm a big fan of that. And that does lead me onto my first place car. So in first place for me is going to be the 77 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. I think this thing looks so aggressive, so mean. There's loads of tampo work here and overall I think this thing just looks fantastic. I can't wait to add this to my collection. Hopefully I can find it in the wild because I really do like this thing. But do you guys agree with my ranking? Let me know in the comments section down below. I will be reading all of your comments, so I do like to hear what you guys think are the best cars from this case. We might have different opinions and that will be very interesting to hear. But that does lead me onto my overall score for this case out of 10. This mix of cars is going to be receiving a totally deserved, in my opinion, 10 out of 10. What a fantastic case here. There's so many good cars here and overall I just had to give it a 10 out of 10. I cannot fault this case at all. I think it's so good and I can't wait, as I've said, to add a lot of these cars into my collection. But anyways, that is it for this video. So if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Remember, you can also press that notification bell so you do not miss new uploads. Remember, you can also share this video with any friends, family or any groups who may be interested. But remember, don't feel pressured to if you don't feel like you have anybody who may be interested. You watching this video all the way to the end means so much to me and I really do thank you for making it all the way up until this point. But anyways, that is it for this video, so I hope you guys did enjoy and I really do hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye everyone.